All right, back again. Advanced Studies in Selected Topics in the Book of Genesis, Lecture 15, Part B. Noah's Ark, Part 2. We just finished up Mount Suleiman, now Durupinar, or Durupinar, however you want to say it. So let's start there. Yeah. There's another site. This is one of two, like I said, that are more believable to me. If I was going to choose, Mount Suleiman is one, Durupinar is another, and then Mount Kudi is another. We'll get to that next time. Red text, the Durupinar site is a large aggregate structure on Mount Tindurik in eastern Turkey. Black text, the site is 2 miles north of the Iranian border and 18 miles south of the great Mount Ararat summit. At an elevation of about 6,500 feet above sea level, says Wikipedia. So this is fairly close to Mount Ararat. So if Mount Ararat is correct, as Mount Ararat, then this would be in the mountains of Ararat. Yeah, I would say. The ark rests on, here's another name, a different, Armenian maybe, is Sesnakedag Mountain, which is interpreted as Doomsday Mountain. So there's no Mount Tindurik. We're going to go with that one. Here's another one, a different name. The flood would be considered a real doomsday since it destroyed the world. So you think about, well, how did they get the name Doomsday, right? The mountain is made of sedimentary Cretaceous water-laid rock, which means it was formed by the floodwaters and is not a post-flood formation. So time-wise, Mount Ararat is a probably post-flood formation. This one, they say, is probably not. Earthquakes and heavy rain exposed a large arc-shaped formation in 1948. You can see it in the inlet picture there, inset picture. And we'll see more pictures on this coming up. There's tons on the internet, but they all kind of are just similar. The site name, Durupinar, was, red text, designated a national park in Turkey. Black text, and is easier to get to than all the other main ark locations. Ron Wyatt claimed to have found multiple artifacts in the area to bolster his assertion that the object is indeed the ark. Red text, however, geologists and archaeologists have studied the site, concluding it is merely one of many similar geologic formations in the region. So that's what they say, and they're geologists, but in my studies, I disagree. But I wasn't there. Black text, many of these researchers were Christians who would love to find the ark, but evidence was lacking, says Dr. Snelling. So yeah, seems like it's a standard. I guess they don't want to find the ark. Find ways to explain it away. Now here is my picture that I took off the internet from Google Earth. You can download Google Earth and you can get the same picture. And it kind of goes around it in 3D or 2D format. And I kind of look, try to find the best pictures. You can go on the computer and bring this up. It shows it a little bit better. But you can just study this out. The coordinates are here, but you just got to just type in Turkish Noah's Ark Visitor Center, and I'll take you right to it, because that's that blue dot there in the bottom center. And there's some homes up there on a mountain range, and you go down into the valley, and that's what you see. Is this kind of like elliptical pattern, and I don't see that elliptical pattern anywhere else. This is fairly a ways up. The further up you go, the less distinct it is, but I did not see anything like it. So if you look at the rest of the terrain around the site, it has some similar topography, though red text, the area seems quite different. So similar topography, kind of this moving like that, but red text, the area where the object is seems quite different in the sharp borders of the site compared to the smooth rolling borders the surrounding terrain changes. So sharp borders, it's not that sharp, but I wrote, but just go with that. It's different. It stands out. Black text, a black and white image is one that it's not really black and white here, is it? Look that way on the computer. Is one that I got off Google Earth, and it shows no other anomalies similar to the boat-shaped objects. So I looked for boat-shaped objects all around there, didn't find anything like it. So if it's just kind of a pattern that you're going to see, at least there I didn't see it. Red text. Also, the Turkish Air Force took a photo of the area a long while back, and found similar boat-shaped terrain irregularities elsewhere on the mountain. Now, I could have posted that one. It's just kind of, I call it rinky-dink. It's not really a good picture quality, but you can go online and find that. And it does show some elliptical shapes elsewhere. I don't know, I think it's a ways away from this one, but you can find them. So, yeah, so that is something. But that's not the main thing. Whether you can find things or not, forget that, and just this is the way I would do it. I'd say this: could the ark, is it a reasonable chance the ark, if it was sitting there, exposed somewhat on the top, would it look something like this? And in my view, it would. Look at this other picture. That's a very odd shaped rock formation. Yeah, it could be a geological rock formation, but hey, we're looking for an ark. Not just wandering by saying, yeah, that could be an ark, but probably just a geological formation, or whatever. So that's, I wouldn't try to explain it away so fast. Oh, just common geological formations. Okay, but could it be the ark? Is it possible? Well, yeah, it could be. Black text. In 1959, stereo photos were taken by a Turkish airline pilot of a boat-shaped object on the mountains of Ararat for the Geodetic, man, that's a hard one, Institute of Turkey. Dr. Brandenberger of Ohio State University, USA, after studying the photographs, concluded, I have no doubt at all that this object is a ship. 1959, he says this. In my entire career, I have never seen an object like this on a stereo photograph. Dr. Brandenberger was a photogrammetry expert who had discovered the missiles bases in Cuba during the Kennedy era. Man, I'm sorry. I'm on a diet, low intake of calories, so that's what I'm going to say. But so during the Kennedy era, so that raises a level of trust. This guy knows what he's talking about. All right. The American team ran a day-and-a-half expedition to the site, hardly enough time to carry out any scientific testing. They blew a hole in the side of the structure with dynamite. I wonder what year was that? Doesn't say. Although some timber-shaped stones were revealed, their conclusion was nothing of any archaeological interest. I'm looking at that thing going, that's got some interest to me. I'm not an archaeologist, but wow. Red text, because the material had no growth rings, the team decided it could not be wood. Okay, so at first blush, that sounds reasonable, but let's go on. Black text, does that prove true? Well, the conditions of the world before the biblical flood were very different from now, from today, I should say. The Bible says, for the Lord God had not caused it to rain upon the earth, but there went up a mist from the earth and watered the whole face of the ground. Red text. Growth rings in wood are caused by seasonal variations. So in a pre-flood environment, with no seasonal variations, the trees would have no growth rings. I don't understand why that would be, but I'll trust them on this. And this is exactly what the American team found. No growth rings in a tree, or in the, whatever they were looking at. In fact, if the material did have growth rings, it would not be the ark. Red text, yeah. So that's interesting. Here's Noah's Ark viewed from a, well, what they say is Noah's Ark from a drone. I don't have good lighting here. So you can just see the different parts here. You can just pause here and look at that. There's that village up on the side if you look at the Google Earth. Ark of Noah. I can't read the other words. Mount Ararat in the distance, 18 miles away. Okay. Black text. After seeing an article published in Life magazine covering this expedition, or epidemic, red text, Ron Wyatt, an amateur archaeologist, black text, visited the site in 1977. Red text, ground-penetrating radar proved the boat, or the structure, to have 3 decks. Kind of summarized here. Did I? No, they did. Black text, the top 2 decks had collapsed, leaving the bottom deck intact, which contained red text, 144 rooms. That's what they say. But that's, okay, that's the ark then, until proven otherwise. In my book, I mean, what would be up? How would a ship be up there? Well, you're only at the 6,500 foot level. Where on earth have you ever found a ship at the 6,500 foot level that size? Or maybe any size ship other than a little boat with a lake nearby. Black text walls and cavities were there. Red text, a 10-foot door near the front. Black text ramps and 2 large round tank shapes near to the bow were also located. The radar scan revealed 4 protrusions extending from the stern that were probably stabilizers, like weights. The length of the ship was measured independently by 2 teams, and red text found to be 515 feet long. Let's look at the pictures. From end to end, it's 515 feet. Does that fit with the size the Bible talks about? Well, since Moses, who wrote the book of Genesis, was familiar with the Egyptian cubit, which is 20.6 inches, you got 20.5, 20.4, 20.6. You can round it off to 20.5. On tests, I'm not going to go, was it 20.4 or 20.6, okay? I might compare it to 20.5 versus 12. Okay, I'm going to have significant differences. Okay, so he's probably familiar with that size cubit, and the biblical record of 300 cubits is exactly correct. You multiply it out, 300 times 20.6 per 12 equals 515. I think it works out also for 20.4 inches. We're real close. Okay, red text, our last page of this lecture. So it lay 6,500 feet above sea level, much too high to be the remains of a boat from a local flood. So a local flood occurred, okay. It is over 200 miles from the nearest sea. Black text. The dimensions were consistent with the biblical description of Noah's Ark in Genesis 6:15, measuring 300 cubits long. Now, there was some problems here, though. The width was greater than that mentioned in the Bible, as the size of the boat had splayed, weakened and went out, which would be expected in a boat of that age. Yeah. With the use of 4 types of different metal detectors, the red text, thousands of metal rivets were found on the site. There's a picture or 2 of that. I don't have that here. There's too many pictures. Metal rivets. Well, did Noah make it out of wood? Didn't talk about metal rivets, but could you use metal? Not a bad idea. In a structure that size, to get metal to do it, wow, that would be hard. Black text, iron was found at regular intervals, which made up a pattern of horizontal and vertical lines crisscrossing the boat. There's a picture of that online, demonstrating iron at the levels of each bulkhead. Conventional science teaches that the Iron Age far precedes the time of the flood. I don't know why it says but. Precedes means before, right? But the Bible in Genesis 4, which is before the flood, says, so I would say, and the Bible in Genesis 4:22 says, Tubal-Cain was an instructor of every artificer in brass and iron. That's before the flood, time-wise. Red text, iron nodules were also found, which show linear patterns consistent with the shape of the hull. You don't have to know 5,400 places, but that's a lot of places, right? So a lot of metal in here, some type of structure. It wasn't just randomly, like in a rock formation, might have some metal strewn in through there. It didn't appear to be that way. And here, is this it? Yeah. So this goes with the picture there. This is the side of the structure, one part of it. The port or eastern side of the ark near the front was scraped off by Ron Wyatt in an effort to view the timbers without loose crumbling material in the way. This process revealed the lighter color rib timbers in a systematic vertical pattern. So I definitely see a vertical pattern there. Unless he scraped it to make it vertical patterns. But I'll assume not. So there's these, you can kind of see it on this other page. It's up and down ribs. Galbraith Laboratories, red text, examined some of the metal rivets and found them to contain in part aluminum, black text, iron, and magnesium, and red text, titanium, so aluminum and titanium. Red text, aluminum and titanium are not found naturally in nature. They've got to be man-made. So it just means it's not just randomly there, because metal can be in rocks and stuff on its own. Black text, aluminum was not discovered until the 1800s by modern man. Though red text, the Bible tells us that Tubal-Cain was an expert in metals, and thus Noah would have had access to his knowledge being around him, being one of the, probably the top dog on the planet, so to speak. Genesis 4, black text here, and Lamech took unto him 2 wives. The name of the one was Adah, and the name of the other was Zillah. And Zillah, she also bare Tubal-Cain, an instructor of every artificer in brass and iron. The sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. Red text, the Bible states that the ark rested on the mountains, the mountain range of Ararat, loosely stated. That is exactly where we find this boat-shaped object. It is located about 15 miles south of Mount Ararat. So my statement to these geologists, Christian guys going to look for this, quit trying to say it's not that. You can say the concerns you have, but I don't like it with Dr. Snelling and some others is to say, and it's obviously not the ark because it could just be a normal geological form. It could be. But could it be the ark? That's my statement on that. Black text. The names of the surrounding places are interestingly associated with the biblical account of the flood. So, at least it's been thought to be that for many, many centuries. Red text, the valley is called the Valley of 8. Black text, in reference to the 8 survivors of the flood, Noah and his wife, their 3 sons and their wives. Red text, a village in the valley translates to the village of the 8, or village of 8, where several giant anchor stones, which you can go Google and find those images, where several giant anchor stones can be found thousands of feet above sea level and hundreds of miles from the nearest sea. And if you just have, I don't know this, but if you study archaeology, what they used on ancient boats, they were like these big stones for weights. We don't use stuff like that now. We have iron, we form into anchors, right? On the anchor stones there are carved Christian crosses from the Crusader period, evidence that the Crusaders also recognized the Christian significance of the anchor stones. Why else would you carve them on there? All these stones had it on there. They probably were thinking, this is from Noah's Ark, man. There are 13 of these anchor stones that all lie in direct line with the boat. I don't quite understand what they mean by that, so don't think I'll probably put that little section on the test. 13 maybe, but not the other one. So red text continues. So evidently Noah cut them loose as the waters subsided just before the ark came to rest. They kind of fell nearby. Now, using our zoom lenses from the road in the valley, this is not me saying that, but the photos from Kevin Fisher, we can see the ark at left. See that to the left? And you can, on your computer, you can make this bigger. And the visitor center's roof at right, it's up on that little hillside there in the kind of center right. And in the distance is the guard tower at the border with Iran. It's an Iranian guard tower up there on the top. And to the left, I couldn't get in the picture, is the Turkish guard tower. Red text, Turkey's renowned archaeologist, black text, Dr. Ekrem Akral, red text stated, at any rate, it is a ship, an ancient ship. It must be preserved and studied, of course. Black text, after many corroborating tests, red text, the Turkish government agreed that the structure was indeed Noah's Ark. They subsequently built a visitor center near the Ark, black text, in 1989. Due to ongoing fighting between the Turkish government and Kurdish rebels, the visitor center and the area have very restricted access. The goal eventually is to build a protective structure over this object and begin excavations. There's a picture right nearby. If you go to Google Map there, up on that road going down, it says Noah's Ark, I think 5 kilometers. Well, what do you think? Would you like to do a Pinar one? Like Mount Suleiman? Well, wait till next week, or whenever you're back, whenever I'm back, Mount Kuti. Very interesting. We'll see you then.